Hello and welcome back to Foos Entertainment for my next review. First we were talking about Friday the 13th, Part 5, A New Beginning. Well, I could say this, Friday the 13th, Part 5, A New Beginning is actually not a bad movie at all. I would say it's quite a bit different from the previous four movies, and the fact that it's more of a story that revolves around a tragic case. I would say that I thought the film was quite interesting in the fact that there's just a lot of different things about this movie that this makes it stand out from all the previous films. So one of the things I find interesting about the movie is the quite obvious thing. Jason Voorhees is actually not in the movie, except for in a dream sequence at the beginning of the film. Better than that, Jason's actually not in this movie. It's somebody masquerading as Jason. And I find that quite interesting. It's a very, very interesting concept to do that. So there's one thing that's very interesting that stands out. I would say that they really tried to make a suspense-like story out of this one that is really grounded in reality. Just like the first four movies. It's like the last one before they made it more supernatural. It was Jason Lives, Friday the 13th, Part 6. Which I have never said I had a problem with, what the fuck? Well, let's talk louder. I have never actually have had a problem with Jason being more supernatural. I thought that Jason was fine as a supernatural character. After all, my favorite Friday the 13th movie is actually Part 6. Part 6 is my favorite film out of the entire franchise. So, I never had a problem with it. But this is, in a lot of ways, the last movie that basically has to do with, there we go, that's better. Basically has to do with Jason being natural. Of course, Jason's not even in the movie, but it's all fine. This is part 2 of what I call the Tommy Jarvis trilogy. Because the main character in Friday the 13th, Part 4, 5, and 6 is Tommy Jarvis. I forget who plays him in that film, but let's see if I can remember. Okay, there it is. And of course then, Friday the 13th final chapter, it was Corey Feldman. In the fifth film, is actor is not very well known by the name of Mark Shepard. And finally, in the sixth movie, you have Tom Matthews, who plays Tommy Jarvis in the sixth film. My favorite one probably being Tom Matthews' performance in the sixth film. So I like that story. That story as a whole, a lot cooler and stuff. Let's go on to the premise of the film. Taking place quite a few years, I say easily between 10 to 11 years after the events of, but it could have been a lot less than that. It really depends upon how old Tommy Jarvis was actually in Friday the 13th, the final chapter. If I would take a guess, I would say he was 8. So I would say within 10 years later. So it could have been 8 years later, it could have been 10 years later. It really depends on how old Tommy Jarvis actually is in Part 5, but he has grown up. It's not really speculated if he's a teenager or adult. But I'm guessing he was a teenager. So I would say about 7 to 8 years. As he is perceived as a teenager in the 6th film, although he isn't. He's suffering from PTSD, post-traumatic stress syndrome, of the events of the 4th film. And he has been in a psychiatric hospital since, and he gets put into this rehabilitation camp that is designed to prepare you to reintegrate yourself into society upon completion. And basically, at this camp, there's a bunch of Eder candidates, Eder clients. There's a anger problem one. He obviously probably has a delinquent history. So I remember his name. I forgot his name, actually. I've got the names of all these characters already. But there's one that's very angry, kind of stubborn one, and then there's this fat one who's obsessed with food. There's this one who kind of is reclusive, that lives in her own shell, that listens to music all the time. There's a nerdy one who has antisocial problems, who's attracted to this Eder woman who is kind of a loner. And then, of course, you have this this little kid whose grandfather is the caretaker. He's black, but a very fun and interesting character. I actually like him. That's the only one I remember the name of. Eder and Tommy would probably be that character, which is Reggie. Reckless. But and of course there's two that are sex birds that just want to have sex all the time and have problems with that. Much of crazy people. Well, what happens is the fat kid who is obsessed with food all the time and has rather food disorder is bugging everybody to try to get some attention. And he first bugs the two women who are doing laundry, and then bugs the angry guy who was chopping wood. And he pisses the guy off enough to where he stops chopping the wood and starts chopping up the kid. He just wants attention. And unknown to anyone at the time, although if you pay attention when the coroners and ambulance come pick up the body and take the angry guy to prison, obviously, for murder, you can see it on the eyes of the paramedic that he's in shock. So you can tell right there and then that he knows this kid. It's right there. But unknown to everybody is he is actually the father of that kid. He got hacked up. And we'll get back to that by the end of my discussion on the premise of the movie. Very soon after that, a bunch of Jason killings start happening. Mostly revolving around the kids that are in this rehabilitation camp and center. And basically, right in the movie is really one of the counselors, the young black kid and Tommy, who are left alive. And they figured it out with Jason. Using a lot of smart wit, like ran towards him with a with one of those things you drive around that cut down grass or something, whatever it's called. Motor, lawnmower, whatever. To going at him with a chainsaw. All sorts of cool, witty things. Tommy confronts his PTSD and stabs him in the leg. But of course, he would think it's Jason, slashes him all across here. Then, pretty much by the end of the movie, when he falls to his death, we find out that it wasn't Jason at all. It was actually the father of the deceased kid. He was hacked up by the anger, not so well disciplined subject out of our rehabilitation camp. So all that gets on the disclosed. He was his father. He went nuts when he saw his kid hacked up pieces. He took on persona that Jason to get revenge. Blah 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 blah. And then I'm not sure what to make of the actual cliffhanger ending. It shows Tommy in like a hallucination seeing Jason, and then the hallucination of Jason disappears, and he opens up the drawer, and Jason's hockey mask and the machete's there. We see him put it on, and then we see the counselor that survived going in to see how he's doing, and he's behind her, getting ready to, with the mask on and the machete, ready to hack her with it. Then the movie fades to black. So I'm not quite sure what to think of that, because that's not mentioned in part 6. So I'm not sure what we're supposed to think of that. And that's pretty much the premise. Now, audio and video quality. This is not a step down, in my opinion, from the previous 4 films. I would just say that it feels like neutral ground with a cinematic experience with this movie. I'd say that the picture is more neutral, color templated, which means you can't say that it strives more towards warm templates or more towards cool templates. It's kind of just stays in neutral ground when it comes to the single target painted picture. Which of course brings to the audio. The audio is there, the surround sound is there, there's plenty of effects to fly around the room, but again, it feels like a neutral ground movie, and that's kind of how I can describe the 5.1 DTS HD master audio track on a movie. It just feels like neutral ground type of sound experience. Which means it's not bad, it's just not intensified like, say, part 4 was, or part 3, which had a lot of dramatic effects at certain points in the movie. This one doesn't have that as much. But keep in mind, though, that the first 6 Friday the 13th movies, take it back. The first five Friday the 13th movies only were preceded with monorail tracks during the theatrical release of the films from 1980 throughout 1985. So they never had surround sound in the first place. And so the fact that you have a satisfying surround track for each of these movies is pretty impressive. So they're some of the best of old mono movies I've heard for quite a while. Well, that's pretty much all there is to say about Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning. Did you like the movie? Did you not like the movie? Do you like this video? Do you not like this video? As always, subscribe if you like. Check back on me from time to time. Share this video with friends. I'll see you next time for my review of A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, Freddy's Revenge, which is one I'll have a lot of fun reviewing. We'll see you guys next time.